everyone, it's Jessica and thank you for coming by my channel today. It's time for a Close to My Heart Twisted Sisters YouTube hop. So what we do for this hop is take something out of the new Close to My Heart catalog and show a different or twisted way that you can use it. I'm going to be using the stamp set called Life's a Hoot card making, and I pulled a couple of photos that I'm going to use. I'm also going to use the 6x6 paper pad. This is the Bright Stack. I love these papers. I've gone through and pulled a couple that I think are going to work well with my photos. And my thought is that I'm going to use this stamp set as just like a background stamp set on my layout. It makes some really beautiful cards. I've already put together a couple of them and I had a lot of fun doing that. And there are some beautiful samples in the catalog as well. But I don't see why you couldn't use this stamp set just to do like some fun background stamping on a scrapbooking page as well, even though it is a card making stamp set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 6x6 papers here and I'm going to cut them in half so that I have a couple of 3-inch squares. I've also gone ahead and trimmed my photos down to 3x3. One of them I'm going to include in a 3x3 flip flap just to make my layout design work. So you'll see only 3 of them on the page, even though there will be 4. And I'm just going to kind of do a little rough layout here to get an idea of what I want to do. I am working off of a post that I saw on Pinterest, and I will leave that linked down below in case you want to go see what inspired me. So I'm going to spread them out like this, and in that inspiration post, there was a little strip of paper in a circle coming over here to the right-hand side. So I used my Cricut to cut a circle out of that one pattern paper. And then originally I have used some Bluebird cardstock here that I am thinking about putting as that little dovetailed strip that will be going across the center there. Later I do change that because I think it's just a little bit too dark. Before I adhere anything down, I am going to use my edge distressing tool and just go around and edge distress all of those papers and the circle as well. And then what I like to do on the final step is just run my finger in towards the center of the paper to really curl those edges. Okay, here is about the time where I'm going to start majorly overthinking this. So in order to do my background stamping, I can't really have anything glued down just yet. But I do want to know where everything is going to be so that way I can stamp it exactly where I want it to go. So I kind of mess around with laying everything out and measuring stuff. I pull out my pencil to try to pencil in where each of these squares will be. It was a bit of a nightmare. I cut a lot of it out, and like I said, I definitely was overthinking it. I think I made it much more complicated than it really needed to be. So here you can see where I'm just using my Versamat and my T-square ruler to make some some squares on my page so that way I know where each of those pieces of paper and the photos will be. My plan is going to be to take that really fun stamp set and using a bunch of different colors. I'm pulling my color ink choices out of that one floral paper that I've got. It's got like flamingo and lemonade, clover, Carolina, bluebird, grape I think is in there. Just a lot of different fun colors. So I'm going to pull all of those ink colors and then just start stamping. I want these fun background stamps to be peeking out from behind my photos and my square papers. So I'm going to kind of mix and match my colors and which stamp sets I'm using. Now this one here is a little half circle, and it's a solid stamp, so I did make sure to season that really well before starting. I practiced on a scratch piece of paper. And then using my Clover ink, I'm going to stamp it a couple of times off of the top of that one square. And then it didn't quite fill the whole thing, so I thought that I would come back over and just overlap in the middle, and that ends up looking really fun. So you'll see here, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and split the difference, and then I've got those 3 circles there. And then, like I said, I'm just grabbing all of the different stamps that are on here and different colors of ink. I used pretty much all of them that are in that one floral piece of paper. And wherever I have those pencil marks to show where my squares are going to be, I'm just stamping it so that they're peeking out from the top and the bottom and the sides, and really making it kind of random. A few of them I overlap so that the two different colors are showing, and just having a lot of fun making my own pattern paper here, essentially, I guess, and random stamping some background elements all over the page. So I think, like I said, this is a great stamp set for making cards. And I really love those art samples that are in the catalog, but like I said, I see using this on scrapbook pages as well. So that's my twist. Here, I like this one that's got the line with the little dashes. I think that looks really cute just out of the side or the top here. So you can see just a tiny little bit of that blue peeking out. And then, like I said, I keep kind of coming back and forth to different colors, just mixing and matching and having a lot of fun stamping. So while I'm finishing up that stamping, let me just share with you that the Twisted Sisters have been going for the last week, and I will leave a playlist linked down below so that you can watch what all the ladies have twisted from the new catalog from Close to My Heart. Today is Kim Ferguson as well, and I think that the two of us are the last for the Twisted Sisters for this March, February, and January catalog. Okay, now that I have the pieces laid out, I'm going to add just a little bit more stamping in the white space because there is a lot of white space over to the right side of the page. And I kind of wanted to wait until I had my pieces on the page where I could see them before I did that last little bit of stamping. I really love this particular stamp off the set. It looks like a bunch of little splatters. So I'm just shifting my circle around to put a couple of blue, Carolina blue splatters coming out from behind it. And then I will add a couple of the other stamps as well into that white space. Again, just using all of the fun different colors that are in that floral paper. Now, like I said, I do have 4 photos to include on this layout, but I'm going to hide one of them underneath this 3x3 flip flap, just because I really wanted to have 3 different pieces of pattern paper, and in order to make that design work, then I needed to have one of them be hidden. So my pencil marks from before actually came in quite handy because I was able to line up the corner of the photo that I could see through the plastic of the flip flap right on my pencil mark, and then I just started peeling the adhesive off of the back of that flip flap and then held it in place as I pulled the rest of it. So that way I made sure that it was staying straight as I put it down on the page. The one thing about those flip flaps, guys, I know I said this before, they are very sticky. So no fears about them ever coming off your page, but that does mean that you need to be kind of careful putting them on, because when you put it down, it's going down and it's not going to come back up. So I was pretty glad that I had those pencil marks there, and I like that trick of just kind of pulling a little bit of the adhesive backing off and holding it in place to make sure that nothing shifts around. Okay, here is where I'm like, nope, I did not love that bluebird cardstock there. It was too dark. And so I switched over to a piece of Carolina instead. And I like that much better. And even so, it wasn't until I really started building up my cluster of circles right here that I started to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable with that strip of blue. The whole time I was kind of like stamping and laying things out, I was really kind of second guessing myself, and I wasn't sure that I loved that, but I didn't know what to do about it. But once I get these circles clustered up on here, I think that it looks much better. So I just kind of forged ahead until I liked it, and that worked out. Okay, so here, like I said, I'm going to add just a little bit more stamping in that white space. Later, what I am also going to do is add a little bit of stitching. If you have followed my channel for a while at all, you know I love to do hand stitching on my projects. It doesn't take that long, and I just think that it adds such a fun extra touch. So I'll show you how I do that here in just a second once I am done with the rest of the stamping. By the way, I will leave individual links in the description box down below for anything that I have used that is available. So if you have seen something that you were really interested in as well, then you can easily find that. So thank you so much for watching today and for visiting those links. All right, last couple little bits of stamp here. I love this little sunburst one. I think that this would be really fun paired up with that solid half circle. You could make it look like a sun and stamp it in 2 different colors. I think that that would be a really fun thing to do. Okay, so there is also a little faux stitching stamp on this set, and I'm going to come in on that that Carolina strip of paper and just put a little bit of faux stitching all the way around the bottom. And I think that that's a lot of fun. I'm going to do real stitching later, but I thought this would just be a quick and easy way to use that stamp to do some of the work for me. So I'll just kind of stamp that all the way down the edge here. Here we go. And next is going to be the actual stitching and the title. So I pulled this off of an old stamp set that I have in my stash, and I've stamped it in Bluebird ink and used my coordinating thin cuts to cut it out. And then I've got some buttons here. These are the white acrylic buttons. Since I've got a lot of circles happening on this page, I thought buttons would be a fun little something to add to the page as well. So I'll scatter those around, and I always like to sew my buttons onto my projects because, I don't know, I think they look a little naked unless they have some thread going through the middle. So when I pull out my threads to stitch those buttons on, I'm going to do, like I said, a couple of other stitching things to this page as well. What I really wanted to do, but I'm just not there yet, is to use a sewing machine to sew around the inside of all of the paper squares and kind of do some like wonky, messy circles, but I have never used a sewing machine on one of my pages before. I think that that's going to be maybe one of my goals for 2023. That's a look that I would really like to pursue. So for right now, I'm just going to stick with the hand stitching. So I used my circles thin cuts as a guide to poke the holes all the way around. And I just poked them around three of the circles. But the third circle, I also poked a hole in the middle. And rather than just doing a stitch around the perimeter, I'm going to do this little green starburst just for something different. I thought that it would be kind of cool to mimic, some of the looks of the stamps from the set. There are a lot of them are circles, but they have different looks to them. So about here is where my kitten Petunia decided that she needed to supervise this layout, maybe get in a few scratches as well, basically be a nuisance. So I had to kick her off the desk. But I've gone ahead and put the title down with some thin 3D foam. I put my extra piece of paper underneath that flip flap, and then later I'll put some white cardstock over top of it and in the center and have that for my journaling. And I'm almost done. I'm just kind of looking to see, I don't know, it still feels like it's missing something. So then I thought maybe I should mat this in a piece of colored cardstock. I don't actually have a whole lot of room to trim anything off of my page, but I do manage to get something off the right side and then a tiny little bit from both the top and the bottom. Enough so that I have cut my page down to 11 3/4. And then I'm going to mat it on some thistle cardstock so that it has just a little thin border. And once I did that, I really liked it so much better. There was a lot of white space still, and I think that colored cardstock kind of helps to stop it from like running off the side of the page, if that makes any sense. So normally I probably would have gutted out that piece of colored cardstock, but I have a lot of this thistle color, so I just went ahead and backed it. Okay, last little touch, I'm coming in with some silver stickles and adding a little bit of sparkle around some of that stamping, and that's going to be it. So there we go. All right, guys, that's my twist. There are some really creative, talented ladies in this hop who are able to think outside of the box in just ways that blow my mind. So make sure that you check out that playlist down below. My twist, not so crazy, but like I said, I think that this card making stamp set would work really well for doing some random stamping on a scrapbooking page as well. That's it. Today's the final day for the January, February, and March Twisted Sisters. I hope you've enjoyed watching everyone's videos. All right, guys, have a great day. Happy crafting. Bye.